Welcome to this episode of Vegan Family Podcast. As always, it's myself, Eric Lindstrom, Cheryl Leahy. We're actually recording this episode at the Animal Rights 2019 National Conference.
Very special episode.
That's right.
On location.
Yes, on location. We're coming to you live. Although when the podcast is uploaded, it won't be live. So this is an annual event that attracts more than 2,000 attendees, hundreds of vendors, and just some of the greatest thought leaders and speakers in the animal rights movement. So we're very happy to be here on behalf of Compassion Over Killing and having this opportunity to record a podcast.
Yeah, and just kind of getting a sense of what's going on, right? What's going on in the movement, new people to the movement, people that, are friendly faces, familiar faces, and getting a sense of, what are the campaigns that are working, what are the new ideas out there, and we were just thinking this would be a good time to see what's going on in the family world.
Exactly. And so we have a special guest, and we'll be right back.
It's time for Animal Outlook's Vegan Family Podcast with your hosts, Eric C. Lindstrom and Cheryl Leahy.
And we're back.
Yes, we're back. And we do have a guest on this special episode. As we said in the intro, we're at the Animal Rights 2019 National Conference, so that allows us opportunities to meet new people, including Nick Coughlin from the Good Kid Project. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you very much. I'm super honored to be here with you guys.
Yeah, we want to just give you, this sort of chance to talk about what you're doing, and I'm, personally very interested in what you're doing, why you're doing it, and kind of get a sense also of, who is your audience? What do you want to say to vegan kids, vegan parents,
Sure.
or is it broader than that? What are you doing this for?
Well, those are all great questions. I mean, I think as an introduction, the Good Kid Project is a passion project of mine. I've been passionate about animals since I was a little boy, and we just created our first product, which is called We're All Animals, and it's all about teaching kids to be kind to animals. And so that particular product, or this product, is 30 stories, little micro stories about a brother and sister who realized through everyday experiences that we're not all that different from other animals.
Wow.
And so each one has it's beautifully illustrated by Ruby Roth. So I was really fortunate to work with her on this project.
I love Ruby Roth.
My mom and my mom wrote all of the stories. So this was a project that she and I got to work on together.
Neat.
And so a mother and son, I think parents are really the market here. Yeah. Parents, teachers, anybody who has a relationship with kids. And so, but like I said, this is our first product, and we're going to just keep on doing this sort of thing where we're creating products that help kids just think about our relationship with other animals.
Yeah, ultimately make that connection, right?
Yeah.
So when you say product, Nick, are we talking about books? Are we talking about other media? What is the product?
Sure. So this first one, called We're All Animals, is a box set of stories. So they're all on individual cards. So you don't have to actually, like a book sometimes is a little bit much if you only have 5 minutes or so and you want to have something meaningful with your kid. You can grab a card and read it, and they're all about a different particular topic, the circus or the food that we eat, just day-to-day experiences that kids could relate to, and so we just thought that this would be a good way to introduce kids in a gentle way. Nothing is too in your face. We're not whacking them over the head with horrible imagery or anything like that. So. It's a fun product, and I think it's been so well received here at the conference. I'm on a super big high just after all the conversations that I had today. It's exhausting, but it's so fun to be here with my people. But so you had asked, who is the market? Ultimately, like I said, you are my people. This is the cause that's near and dear to my heart, and it always has been. But ultimately, I want to get out of the animal rights movement, and I want to really get into the parenting movement. Mm-hmm. That is huge. The world of everybody who has kids wants to raise good kids, and so what I think is that kids very often don't feel like they have any power in life, or they have very little power, and what power they do have is very often like they've got a family pet, or there's other animals in their lives that they do feel like they have power over. Well, if we teach them to be kind and treat animals with consideration, that sort of ethic is just going to carry through to all of their other relationships with people.
Yeah.
And so this is a life lesson that kids can learn, and parents can help their kids learn, and then it's a great way to help kids become good people.
Yeah, we've talked about that. So interesting, because we've talked about this on the podcast a little bit, that I think being vegan is a way for kids to feel like they have more power, right? It's this sort of, at least my 3-year-old says, look, I'm super vegan. I, save animals, save the day. This is his way of feeling like he can do something for animals. And I think you're right that feeling of never having the ability to make your own choices, and everybody else is telling you what to do. And the kids are very aware of, things that are sort of big and scary, and they're always trying to make sense of it. And being able to really identify that concept of, you could make a good choice with something that you have power over, or you could make a bad choice, an abusive choice. And, why does that happen? What's out there and what's going on? I think, having a story to be able to introduce that is just a really, it could really resonate in a way that, these kids can really process. I think people kind of underestimate kids, but they can really process these pretty complicated concepts.
And you mentioned circus. So are these products going to also address climate change, all of the other things that from an animal rights perspective and from a vegan perspective or a dietary perspective, how are you going to broach all of those subjects?
Well, that's a good question. And flat out, I don't necessarily know at this point. I mean, I'm open to, one of the reasons I wanted to come here, for one of the thousands of reasons, is because it's such a good place to meet people and talk about possibilities for collaboration. And, I've met so many people who want to work with me, humane educators, who think that this product might fit into what they're doing. Teach Kind came, and we had a wonderful conversation, and we're talking about how that might fit into what they're doing. And so I guess I'm not directly answering your question. I think ultimately I'm open to...
Right, this will grow into...
I don't know what it'll become. It's just something that I believe deeply in, and I know, just based on conversations today alone, that this resonates with a lot of other people too.
Nice.
And really the test will be once I get out of, like, this is a really safe environment for me. The test will be when I get out into the wider world of, like mommy bloggers and
mommy bloggers can be real.
Yeah,
that's the influence.
And I know some people don't like that term, I think, but
right.
Exactly. So I think that the real opportunity is out in the wider world where people aren't already talking about this or thinking about this, but to be able to explain to them why this could be a good way to, it's just ultimately a good way to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
So how do you think about that approach to kind of the core parenting ethic? Like, if I'm a new parent, or I do bedtime stories with my kids, what do I hear? What message am I hearing from you about why I should put this in my daily routine?
Well, it's just like I was saying, it's just a good way to talk about our relationship with other beings, other people, other anybody else who is maybe not like us. So if there's somebody who doesn't look like me, for example, and they're in this We're All Animals product, there are some subjects where it's talking about other kids who might look different, or they have a different sounding name. Or somebody of a different sexual orientation. Like, there's so many opportunities to talk about people or individuals who aren't quite like us.
Right.
I don't know if I'm directly answering your question.
No, that's great. I feel like that's just mainstream content now, right?
Yeah.
Look at, like, I don't know why Daniel Tiger comes to mind, but that's like the kind of thing
because we watch it all the time. That's
right,
why.
Of course, because it's just an earworm all the time.
No.
But I think that if you can sort of package it that way, that this is just the next logical step to understanding, compassion and diversity and sort of sensitivity to, others in general. I mean, that's like right at the center of what I think most parents really feel like is their job.
Yeah. It's a big part of it. So I sort of alluded to this when you first mentioned her name. How did you get connected with Ruby Roth? How did that whole process take place? For the listeners who aren't familiar with her work, she wrote and illustrated That's Why We Don't Eat Animals, ABCs of Vegan. She's pretty hardcore with her messaging. There's some videos out there of her being confronted quite angrily, aggressively by newscasters or the like, because she's telling kids not to eat their dinner because their dinner happens to be animals. Right. So how did that relationship happen, and how long did take us through the process of having her work on the book?
Well, I feel incredibly fortunate. I mean, I love Ruby Roth, and I love her work. When I first saw her being interviewed on the news, she's just so well spoken. Yeah, really well spoken, and she's an incredible artist. And so when I had this idea for this product, I just started thinking about who I would like to work with, because I'm a graphic designer, but I'm not an illustrator, and so I knew I was going to have to work with somebody. She rose to the top of the list, and I think that she and I are connected, or we were connected through Facebook, or maybe it wasn't that. I think I just reached out to her through her website, and I told her the concept. I told her about what I was working on. And she told me that she gets approached a lot, and she is not able to just, by the constraints of time, isn't able to work on everything, but she loved the idea. Wow. Excuse me. And so, I mean, I just was really honored that she wanted to work on this project with me.
How long did it take? And did she send you sketches? How did the ideas become real?
So I sent her a sample of 3 stories that we had already had finished, and then that's when she was able to look at this concept and what we were doing, and decided that she was willing to work on it with us. The time frame, I don't remember exactly what it was, but she did send back some sketches, and of course, I knew that I was going to love it. Like, they're just the cutest little, kids. And,
she drew my dog. I don't know if you guys have done that yet. Oh yeah.
Oh no.
So I'm hoping she still offers this as a service. She brings it up every holiday season on Instagram or her social media following. For a very small fee, unbelievably affordable fee. Yeah. You send Ruby Roth a photo of your dog, and she sends you back a Ruby Roth cartoon of your dog, like a drawing, an actual illustration.
I have to do this.
It's amazing. And it's very accurate. It's exactly what you would expect it to be. It's a caricature of your dog, but in Ruby Roth style. Yeah. So it's got a little watercolor bit to it. It's very, very fun. And so, if hopefully Ruby, you're still doing that, and others can take advantage of that.
Yeah, and for people who don't know her aesthetic, it's very sort of soft and fun, and has just kind of a cuteness to it that, I think would appeal to kids. I don't know exactly what your age range target is, but I think it would appeal to little kids, and then, up into maybe the preteen, teen years. I think that's
So very skinny-legged pigs.
I know, that's the thing. It's just, they crack you up. The different things that she does with their legs and their noses and stuff. But the age group for this product that we're putting out is 4 to 12.
Oh, perfect.
So there's a nice range. I mean, kids don't have to be able to read. Right. And parents can read them, or teachers can read them with the kids.
Right.
So so what do the kids say about it? The 4 to 12-year-olds. What kind of feedback have you gotten?
Well, really the only feedback I've gotten so far is with my nieces and nephew, and they love them. That was my test market.
Are they vegan?
They are. My whole family.
Oh,
I'm really fortunate. I grew up, I was born in 1975, and I grew up as a vegetarian. My parents raised us vegetarian. And then, so I feel very fortunate in that regard. They taught us to think about things and to take other animals into consideration. And so I had really good role models. And then in 2003, I ended up working at Farm Sanctuary. I landed at Farm Sanctuary in California. and became vegan. And I had wanted to go vegan for years, but I didn't know
Farm
how.
sanctuary is what kind of pushed you into it?
It did, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's like if you live on the farm, you have to be vegan.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
and then I met my ex-girlfriend there, and she really taught me how to be vegan. And so I felt very fortunate to be in this vegan bubble and to learn how to live life this way. And then when I came home from California back to Minnesota, where I live, I talked to my family about the egg industry and the dairy industry, and then they all went vegan as well. And
Wow.
So I have it makes family gatherings a lot easier.
Yeah.
And I'm just so fortunate. And yeah. So.
That story alone.
Yeah,
is
that's
enough,
pretty
Nick.
impressive
Yeah.
because, I think converting your family is the hardest people
Yeah.
to convert,
Yeah. Especially
Well,
if they've been doing it for so long and
Yeah.
feeling like they were doing their part by being vegetarian. For
Right.
you to be able to educate them about the other aspects
Yeah.
of veganism and have them listen
Yeah.
is really amazing.
and
Well-
kind of rally around it,
Yeah.
as a family.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, again, I'm incredibly fortunate. The thing is that they had taught us these things for the same reasons that I do it today, and that's compassion for animals. And so when you understand that when you're vegetarian because you love animals, it just makes sense when you learn about
Yeah.
what's happening to chickens and what's happening to cows and calves and
Yeah.
all the other animals in the dairy and the egg industries. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And so it was less of a leap for the rest of my family, but still, super lucky to have that.
So
That's
the
great.
kids were sort of born into that family culture, then, and they kind of lived that. So then when they read the stories or had the stories read to them, they kind of already had that framework,
Yeah.
right? They just got it,
Yep.
I'm guessing.
Yep.
So how do you feel that may or may not be different for, sort of your mainstream American, 5-year-old?
I love your question, and I don't know the answer. I mean, this is to be determined.
Right.
This is something that I've funded all myself, and so it's my passion project, and I didn't necessarily do all of the research that maybe I should have done, but it's going to get out into the world soon. They're in production right now, and I'm supposed to receive the first shipment of 2,500 units at September 26th.
Oh, wow.
And so at that point, I will reach back out to you, and I'll let you know what the reception has been.
I
Because
want the kid on the street version. I want to I want you to go out,
Yeah.
Right, find a kid.
interview them, stick a microphone in their face. And
it's actually a great idea. It is a really good idea. I could go to some festivals or something like that, and where the parents are with the kids.
Try them out.
Try them out.
So how many are in the first set? How many cards?
So there are 30 stories.
30 different
Yeah,
cards?
30 different cards, and it comes with an adult guidebook. And so, like I said, on every story, there are discussion questions and then a challenge for the kids to investigate further or whatever. And so, in the back of this adult guidebook, we have suggested answers, or things that to kind of help parents out. So parents who aren't necessarily thinking about what the three of us think about on a daily basis, our relationship with other animals, they might need a little bit of help or guidance.
Yeah.
Or
Well, I bet that's where a lot of parents would be, concerned. Like, a lot of kids are the ones who bring this topic to their parents' attention.
Yeah.
So, I could see, myself back in the day when I was a kid, my parents would have had no idea how to start with facilitating a conversation or answering questions about it. So it's nice to give them that, look, you don't have to worry that you're going to get stumped by these, age-old philosophical questions, which, of course, your 6-year-old is going to bring up in response to this conversation. So that's a pretty good resource and kind of overcomes that barrier a little bit.
Yeah, I think the more turnkey we can make this, the less work that a parent has to do, the better. I mean, they're busy, they're working, they're cooking meals, what can we take off their plate?
Yeah.
And this is
Animals.
Exactly. Get the kids cooking.
Yeah.
That needs to be the takeaway.
Right.
Hey, I'll cook dinner tonight. Give me the story. You're going to get dinner out of it.
Recipe cards. That's your next
That's
market,
a good idea.
recipe
That's
cards,
a
Nick.
good idea.
So we'll be right back after this.
Since 1995, Compassion Over Killing has served as an unwavering force, bringing about positive changes for animals. Please consider a tax-deductible donation today. Visit COK.net for more.
Thank you for that. So we're with Nick Coughlin from the Good Kid Project. Cheryl and I are recording this at the Animal Rights 2019 National Conference, and the conversation's been fascinating. Your product sounds incredible. As parents ourselves of vegan kids, which is what this podcast is primarily about, we are faced with challenges with our own kids, but even more so with our kids' friends or situations that they find themselves in, parties or school situations. Where, with the Good Kid Project, where would you like to see this head? What is the future plan as you see this one unfolding?
Yeah, well, definitely pushing. I mean, this is where I'm starting. I'm starting, like I said, in a kind of a safe space where people are already amenable to these ideas. Ultimately, I'm going to push out into that to these other markets. And so, like you said, your kids' friends, well, how many other families can we show these sorts of products? Not only mine, but there are others out there. We just expose kids to this stuff.
Yep.
A bunch of people I'm connected to on Facebook and on Instagram in this world of animal protection. But yeah, I need to branch out, and but got to start somewhere. And I have somebody that I'm working with, and she's just ready to go. I mean, she can't wait till we get this product, and she's literally going to go door to door, and start selling these things. So,
where are you going to use your first set of Good Kid Project cards?
Well, actually, I was just thinking that my kids would like to, they love this kind of thing, right? But my older one, his friend told him that she wants to go vegan. And I'm just thinking, as we're having this conversation, how her mom would feel if we just give her some of these.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think she maybe would be okay. I don't know. Find out.
They're it's a gentle approach, right? So we're not.
It's a story.
People don't feel you don't feel judged when you're reading this. It's just a story about a brother and sister named Addie and Oliver, and so it's a friendly way to introduce this to people who haven't thought about this.
Yeah. Well, of course, coming from me, it's going to be quite obvious what the
You're right.
For my kids who are like the vegan evangelicals, like little activists they are. But I think the idea of doing it as a story, like if I were to encounter it, or just say, I'm thinking about my non-vegan friends who are parents encountering it in a bookstore, or in one of these like lists, recommending things on in sort of like I said, mommy bloggers or something. I think this is exactly the packaging of this message that could be really, engaging to kind of communicate some of these messages. I mean, look at all of the animal allegories that we use for kids' literature. I mean, we talked about this before, and it's the kind of thing that, we know is supposed to be allegorical, but also is like a little bit literal too, right? I mean, there's a reason that people like Charlotte's Web, or they like any of these other stories. So it's not that there is such a big uphill battle to get these concepts out there. It's just maybe something it hasn't occurred to people to do.
Yeah.
And people haven't thought, well, I should just add this to my repertoire of like how to be a good person.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to read stories about saying thank you and, washing your hands and all of those things that, parents kind of mentally check off in their minds. Are they going to get their shoes on before they get out the door?
Yeah.
And this whole sort of compassion for animals and understanding sort of, the commonality between humans and animals and all of that, I think is something that, should be added to the list.
Yeah.
So on the card that Nick gave us, it says, "We're All Animals" is a story series for young children whose attitudes about our place in the world are still forming. While entertaining us, the stories teach tolerance, humility, and compassion. So right there alone gives you a sense of what the parents or the kids who can read, or even the kids who can't read, will be looking at the drawings, would expect in the packet is possibly a life-changing experience, a way that they can be taught these lessons, life lessons, in an approachable way, simple language, and as you said, these challenges or these other things that are associated with each of the stories It definitely really sounds like, to me, in our household, as I'm sure yours as well, there's stuff spread out everywhere at all times, whether it's markers or coloring books or toys or other things, and that these should be part of that mix. That they're just become so much a part of our own households because we're the ones willing to introduce them into our households or to buy them for other people, that they should just always be there as, sort of something to look at, something, a reminder, a guide and a way that we're, teaching these lessons in a very understable way.
Yeah. You can see them as like car things, just
yes, that's a
side,
great point.
Instead of big heavy books and toys in the car, you're bringing cards, and you don't end up having to clean up a big mess.
That's what on the back of the box I put at home in the car or at home on the road and in the classroom.
Yeah,
and you really can use them anywhere and in different ways too. A kid can just kind of rifle through them and look at the pictures, and it's fun.
Yeah,
So I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can you just tell us a story?
Tell us a story.
Yeah, give us a little sort of summary. Immerse us in the experience.
Well, do you want me to read one?
Yeah, if you have one here.
Yeah, I do. I'll have to grab it here.
Sure, not at all. So we're talking with Nick Coughlin from the Good Kid Project here at the Animal Rights 2019 conference. And it's a series of stories that are part of a card set with wonderful illustrations by vegan illustrator, cartoonist Ruby Roth.
And written by his mother.
And written by Nick's mother,
Kathy Coughlin.
Kathy Coughlin.
Okay, so just the visual here. So this is not exactly what I was picturing. It's a bigger box than I was picturing. The cards are bigger.
Yeah.
So each card kind of stands out on its own.
It's beautiful.
Maybe what is that, like a
4x6?
Bigger than that.
5x7?
Like a 5x7 card.
Yeah, they're really, really nice.
The box looks like an old VHS size.
Yeah.
Sort of. Maybe a little bigger than that.
It's a neat product. There's no question about it.
It's good. The cards are all, they've got a nice coating on it, so they're washable.
Yeah.
But the topics...
Toddler-proof?
They're toddler, yeah.
Is that my toddler proof?
So I was just kind of rifling through them. I just choose one at random here. There's a picture of Oliver and Addie looking at kind of a forlorn bear who's in a cage. And so the story is called A Bear Who Doesn't Get Vacation. Oliver and Addie loved vacations, but the car ride was so long. They had played games and read books, but now they felt crowded and bored. They stopped at a roadside store where they could get out and stretch, but then could hardly believe what they saw in front of them. A live bear inside a cage. "Mom, that bear probably feels cramped and bored, just like we did," Addie said. "You're right," Mom agreed. "A bear's home is in the forest, not a tiny cage." So they went inside and spoke politely to the owner. They reminded him that we are all animals, and the bear was as unhappy living in a cage as people would be. They asked him please to free the bear. The owner listened and said he would think about it. "Sometimes all we can do for animals is speak up for what's right," Dad said as they got back in the car.
That's so sweet.
Wonderful.
That's very, very, it's just a short story, but it gets it all in there.
Yeah.
That's very sweet.
And so the challenges or the exercise that are on that card?
Yeah, so the discussion question is, what are Addie and Oliver distressed to see on the roadside at the roadside stop?
Mm-hmm.
How does Mom try to teach compassion? And then the challenge is, there are thousands of such roadside zoos confining animals as depicted in the story. Brainstorm some ways we can help animals in captivity.
Oh, that's nice.
Really
sort
wonderful.
of ask them to really engage in, the critical thinking side of it.
Yeah, so again, as Cheryl was talking about, as Nick pulled the box out and pulled the cards out and the adult guidebook out, it's absolutely beautiful product. Where will people find this? How do they reach you? What can we do to connect people with the Good Kid Project?
So everything you can find on goodkidproject.com.
Mm-hmm.
So you can contact me there, and you can pre-order this. Like I said, they're available September 26th. I also have T-shirts and some of Ruby's other books on my website.
Nice.
We're publishing stories about kids who are doing good things in the world. Like we've got a story coming out about Genesis this week, who's doing really amazing things.
Genesis Butler.
Yeah, Genesis Butler, who's doing really amazing things to make the world a better place. And so I'm looking to connect with other content creators, people who are writers and are interested in this, have the same ethic, and want to help spread the word about kids doing good things for animals.
Well, that's wonderful.
So if you go to goodkidproject.com.
Great. Thank you.
And will it be on Amazon or any other places down the road?
I'm learning that I need to be on Amazon. yeah. That's a beast I haven't approached yet, but I definitely have to do that. So.
Yeah. Well, good luck. This has been just wonderful. I loved learning about your product. You're such a nice guy with such a great story. I'm so glad you could take time out of this busy conference to sit with us. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We will look for it. Goodkidproject.com. Thank you for tuning into the Vegan Family Podcast. You can email us at veganfamily@triveg.com, right, Cheryl?
Please do. We want to hear all the thoughts and all the feelings.
So until the next episode, go vegan.
Thank you for tuning in to Animal Outlook's Vegan Family Podcast. Have episode ideas or questions about going vegan? Email us at govegan@triveg.com.